Hello, this is Jared with Tax Relief 101, the most passionate show on YouTube about taxes and the IRS. What we talk about here is what I do in my day job. This is a little bit of a hobby for me, is how to navigate being in trouble with the IRS. And I'm really passionate about this because I see the difference that quality representation and good information can make in people's lives. And I know there's a lot of bad information floating out there. So I kind of put this show together in my free time to answer people's basic questions. Because it's a hobby, I don't put a whole lot of editing into it, but you do get some quality information for free that you potentially have to pay a lot of money to get otherwise, hundreds if not sometimes thousands of dollars depending on how much time you'd be taking from a professional. So that's the value. I put a little bit of editing into it, I kind of work on it, but not really. And you get some quality information for free. Because that's the only way I can kind of afford the time to do this otherwise. Do this from my home office, but you still see me dressed up from work. Sometimes we have guests on here, sometimes we don't. Today we don't happen to have one. It's a pretty straightforward question. Can the IRS take my Social Security? So last thing before we get into that question, if you like the show, if you find the information useful, you can like, subscribe, or share with other people. The other thing is that if you got a question, you can comment down below, and we'll answer that question usually in a couple days at this point. If when questions start piling up, that might take a little bit longer. So you want to get those in now so we can answer them quick while there isn't a big line. But other than that, that's kind of what we do here. And then we'll get into the question, can the IRS take my Social Security? So there's a lot of confusion around this because there's different rules for different people. And in general, and we'll probably have a lawyer who deals more with this talk about the specifics. But in general, most creditors can't take your Social Security. There's some special rules around that and things of that nature. It's harder to take than other things. I'm not going to say kind of with any certainty about the rules outside of the federal government. I know it's harder for all those types of things, and I believe there are more kind of aggressive protections in general for that. But again, we'll have somebody qualified to speak on that aspect come on eventually. But as far as the IRS is concerned, they can absolutely garnish your Social Security. They can garnish your Social Security. They can garnish your SSDI even. And you can be getting $2,000 a month in SSDI, and they'll take $1,200 of it. Well, a little bit less than $1,200, but yeah, about $1,134 if you're single potentially, because the exemption amount is around $866 for one person. So they'll might potentially take up to that. So that can happen. Now that being said, there's one thing they can't take, which is your SSI, so your Social Security insurance. So if somebody's got that, then they're not going to be able to take that, and they can't even take it out of your bank account. So if you've got that money in a bank account and they try to levy your bank account, they're not allowed to take that. And this is one of those things that gets complicated. If you do have SSI, you really might want to talk to your local, either your local VITA site or your legal assistance society, or find someone that's willing to talk to you. Maybe not at their full rate depending on what you do, because if you're on SSI, you don't have a whole lot of resources usually, unless you've got stuff saved up. But because the reality is, if they're going to take all the money that they have in that account, that's not going to be good, and you don't need to lose it. But if you can find somebody at a clinic who'll do it for free, or even if you can pay a little bit of money and get all of that back, because that's really clear cut. Like, they're just not allowed to do that. So that's not a hard one to necessarily prove that they did wrong on. So it can be really beneficial to prove them wrong on that if they took your SSI. But if they garnish your other stuff as it's coming in, you do have some recourse. You can get a wage garnishment adjusted. And so there's the ability to do that. So even if they start taking a lot of it, you can still fight back a little bit, so that you can pay your bills, because that's what we're talking about. Especially if you've just got Social Security, the amounts that they let you keep, are incredibly low. So this is kind of subsistence level living. The last thing, I've obviously got my opinions about this, but if you think differently, why don't you share your opinion below? I mean, do you think the IRS should be able to take Social Security? Do you think that they shouldn't be allowed to touch Social Security in general? What do you think about the fact that Social Security is taxed? That's something that a lot of people have different opinions on, but let's just get a conversation going. Let's ask questions. Like I said, we'll pump out answers to these questions really quick. And at least at this point, once the build-up starts, it might be a little trickier, but if you put them in now, I can tell you that we'll answer them real quick. You might even get an answer the next day. So other than that, like, subscribe, share, get your questions in there while you can. And while we're answering them quick, and that's all. This is Jared with Tax Relief 101, and I'm signing off for the day.